Hello art beaders, Becky here for artbeads.com, and today I'm going to be showing you how to use the Tulip I-Cord Knitter. This is a handy dandy tool that you can use with yarn and other thin cords to make fun knitted ropes that you can use in jewelry and craft designs. It's a great little tool and I can't wait to show you how to use it, so let's get started. When you buy the Tulip I-Cord Knitter, it will come with a couple things. It will come with the actual tool itself. It will also come with a little tulip crochet hook that you can use to guide the yarn or cord where you need it. A small weight for holding the end of your yarn, and this is a pretty heavy, hefty little weight, so that's nice to have. And the packaging also includes a pamphlet with step-by-step instructions for you, so that's also really handy. I'm going to walk you through the different parts of this tool just so you're familiar with how to use it. So this part of the tool is what's called a lower guide. The upper guide is this little notch right here. It has a handle and it also has latches and hooks inside the tool. So this is the little hook and little latches that open and close as well. The weight also has a little button that you press to feed the yarn through, and that will clamp onto the yarn and keep it in place. You're going to want to use thinner yarns with this tool just so you don't damage the different components of the tool. It also works with Toho Amiette cord, which is what I used here. Crochet thread and embroidery floss works really well with this tool. To start with this tool, I like to work with my yarn or cord on the spool. You don't really have to cut it. You're going to feed your yarn through this lower guide and then into that notch, the upper guide. And then you're going to put it down through the hole at the center of this tool. So just feed it in there until it's coming out at the bottom. And this will be a little bit finicky, but you just want to feed it through that hole essentially. You can line it back up in that upper guide notch after you've fed it through, and you'll start to see it come down at the end here. So let's feed some more on there. And you can use your finger to push it through too. And it's just about to come out the end there. There we go. So we've got it through that center hole and it's lined up in the upper guide and lower guide. You're going to knot the end of your yarn. And then what you're going to do is push the button on your weight and feed the knotted end of your yarn through the weight. And then release that button. And that holds it. And that's going to give you tension while you're using this tool. Holding the tool, you also want to make sure that the thread, the weight is hanging down, and that's going to create tension on your piece. Before we start this next part, we want to make sure all these latches on the tool are open. So that one's already open. This one I'm going to open a little more, and this one is closed. We're going to open it a little more, and you can use the crochet hook to do that. So just make sure all of those are open. From here, we're going to turn the handle clockwise until that first hook catches the thread. So you can see that first hook has caught the thread. Once the thread is in place for the other hook, you're going to want to use your crochet hook to bring it over this hook. We don't want this yarn to catch this hook. We want to bring it to the outside of that hook. From here, we're going to turn the handle clockwise, and the third hook we do want to catch the yarn. So we're going to let that one catch. And you also want to make sure it's between the hook and the latch. We're going to continue turning the handle clockwise. And for this one, again, we want the yarn behind the hook. We don't want it to catch this hook. So we're going to use the crochet hook to make sure it's behind the hook, not catching. From here, we're going to keep slowly turning, and you can see as this next hook is coming, the loop slips below the latch. That's what we want, and we're going to keep turning so that all of the hooks catch the yarn. And you can see that next one, the loop is slipping below the latch. That's what we want. And you can use your crochet hook to adjust if that's not happening naturally. So that one went down, and then you just slowly keep going. And you can see that the rope is starting to form, and the weight is keeping it tension. So you just keep going. And I'm going pretty slow for these first few ones, but once the rope really starts to form, you can go faster, because this little tool works really great once you get your yarn fed and in place correctly. The rope is formed very fast. So that's the great thing about this tool, is you can make a knitted piece, something that looks like it took hours, in just minutes. And I love using this variegated yarn because it looks so cool once you've got the rope going. You can see how mystifying that color change, that color gradient is. And eventually your rope will be long enough, you'll start to see it come out the bottom of your tool, and that's what's happening here. Oh, this is beautiful yarn. The variegated color looks so nice. And you can see we've already got a lot going here. So if you were to crank even faster that handle, you can make a long rope in no time. So you could have a single strand bracelet in seconds. You could make a fun long wrap bracelet. You could do a rope long enough to spiral up into a coaster. You could make a necklace focal. There's so many different ways that you can use this tool, and it goes so fast. It's really fun to watch. It's kind of mystifying to see those little hooks and latches work. It's just a really great tool for adding some more fiber into your jewelry and craft projects in a unique way. So I've only been doing this for a couple minutes, and you can see I already have a pretty decent size rope going here. So this is a great tool, and you can even add beads. I can show you how to do that in just a minute. I'm going to also show you how to finish off the ends of these cords. To finish your ends, all you have to do here is cut your cord, and I like to cut it a little long so you have some thread to work with. And we've been turning the handle clockwise. You just turn the handle backwards to get the hooks off. So you can see it's kind of undoing the hooks from the cord. So it'll slide right off. There you go. So you can pull that through. And we have this unfinished end that we're going to finish. So what you're going to need to finish off the ends is a tapestry needle or a big eye needle like the one I have here. You can see there are 4 loops on this unfinished end. You're going to bring your yarn and tapestry needle through those unfinished loops in a circle. So I'm going to go through the first one, make my way through the second one, make my way through the third one, and make my way through that fourth one, the one that we're kind of originating from. We're going to pull that tight. You can see that makes kind of a nice little finish. And then I'm going to make a little, there's like this kind of like arching loop at the top. I'm going to bring my thread through that and make a knot there as well. You can kind of tuck it into the end of this piece. There you go. So that's a nice, clean finish, and the other end is already kind of finished. You can knot it again too if you like, for extra security. And then depending on how you finish the ends of these pieces, you can glue it into end caps like I did here. Maybe tie it to a button, make a loop at the other end for a little wrap bracelet. All kinds of different ways to finish off the ends of these pieces. But look how cute. So we did that in just minutes. You've got this fun variegated piece. This yarn is nice and soft, so this would be a really fun bracelet to wear and stack maybe with some beaded bracelets. Super cute. When using beads with your cord in the I-Cord knitter, you want to be sure that your beads will fit through that center hole. I'm using 8/0 Preciosa round seed beads. These will have no trouble fitting through that center hole. And I'm actually going to use a crochet thread for this one. This is a size 20 crochet thread, and you're also going to want to make sure that your beads fit on to the cord of your choice. And this has a pretty nice stringing hole size that will fit on nicely to this cord. So to add beads to your I-Cord knitter pieces, you want to pre-string all of the beads on first. So you're just going to add a lot of beads on to your cord. You can calculate how many beads that you're going to need per round or per inch, or if you have a long spool that you're working with like me, you could unspool a lot, string on a lot of beads, and if you run out of beads, snip the end of your really long cord and add more from the other end. You won't be able to add beads from the front of the cord because that will be worked into the I-Cord knitter, but you can always unspool a lot of cord and work those beads on from the back of the strand. So that's an option, but we're just going to add a bunch of beads and then work it into the I-Cord knitter. Again, your tapestry needle or big eye needle like I have might help you in stringing beads onto your cord. If the beads are big enough to pass through your bent over cord, this crochet thread is thin enough that it works well with my big eye needle and the beads I've chosen. That'll just make it easier. A lot of these yarns and cords that you use with the I-Cord knitter, they have ends that will fray, so it might be harder to string on beads. So just use something like your big eye needle or your tapestry needle. I think the bead spinner would be really good for something like this because you can spin a lot of beads onto your cord in a short amount of time, and that uses a curved needle with the tool as it's spinning to pick up a lot of beads. So if you can use that with your cord and beads, that's another good option. If you don't have a needle but you still want to try stringing beads onto your cord, sometimes you can glue the ends of your cord to stiffen it and make the cord act as a kind of a needle. So if you glue the end of your cord, like with super glue works really nice because it's kind of a more brittle, hard glue. It'll stiffen the end of your cord and make it easier to pass through the stringing holes of your beads. So that's something to keep in mind too if you decide to add beads to your I-Cord knitter cord of choice. This is the part of the process where I kind of feel like Cinderella picking lentils from the ashes. You got to pick up those small little beads, get them all on the needle, and then thread them on to your cord. But once you get all of these beads on, it'll make the process of using the I-Cord knitter tool so easy. And you could even do bead patterns within your cord. You could think up a pattern and put the beads onto your string in a certain pattern. That might look nice. All kinds of different ways to try this. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, we've got quite a few seed beads strung on to our crochet thread. Let's start adding this piece to our I-Cord knitter. When using the I-Cord knitter with cord and beads, you're not going to feed it through this lower guide, just through the upper guide and down through that center hole. So we're just going to get it down through that center hole like so. And then through that lower guide, and you want to attach your weight as well. That's what helps keep tension. So I'm going to knot my cord here at the end like I did with the yarn, and add it to the weight. Let's use my dominant hand to feed that through. Slippery. Let's try again. There we go. And the string is added to the weight. Get this off similar to how we did it with no beads. You want to make sure all these latches are open. Use your crochet hook to open the latches, and then you're going to turn clockwise so it catches that first hook. Turn it close to the second hook. You don't want it to catch the second hook. You bring it behind. Turn it clockwise to catch the third hook, and then you want it behind the fourth hook. Make sure your weight is pulled down, and then keep going. For the first couple rounds, you're going to want to do no beads. So you can see my cord is starting to form. So we've done it for a couple rounds. Now we're going to start to add beads. So to add a bead, we're going to hook that first hook, and then we're going to slide a bead into the center so that it's between the first and second hook. Then we're going to hook that second hook. When we're just approaching that third hook, slide a bead. We've hooked the third hook. We're just approaching the fourth hook. Slide a bead. There we go. When adding beads, I like to keep the beads down lower below the upper guide, just so you're making sure that those beads aren't jumping onto your thread out of turn. You don't get multiple in one go, and that will make it easier to add them. So just keep like an inch or two from the upper guide to the beads, so that way, because the tension of the weight is going to make them jump on pretty easily once you get past that upper guide or close to it. So keeping them lower down from the upper guide helps with that. So we're really getting into the groove of it now. We're just going to keep adding those beads until we have a nice little rope. Another thing I'll mention too, as you create your rope, your weight's going to come down way far out of the bottom of that knitter. Don't be afraid to readjust your weight and bring it up closer, just to keep that tension nice. And so if you are working on a really long rope, your weight doesn't hit the floor or your work surface and mess with the tension. Once you've added all your beads through the I-Cord knitter, you'll start to get a rope that looks like this. And I've added all of my beads. I'm going to do a couple rounds of without beads, like we started it. And then we're going to finish it the same way, where we've been turning the crank clockwise. We're going to go counterclockwise to kind of undo what we've been doing here. And sometimes you just have to... There we go, and that's off. And down through the tool we will cut with scissors, and then use our big eye needle to bring the loop the cord through those open loops that aren't finished yet. And there you have it. You have a finished cord with beads. Main thing to pay attention here when adding beads to your cord through the I-Cord knitter is tension. Tension will affect how your cord comes out with the beads, so just make sure that you're keeping things tight, letting that weight hang down and keep the tension nice and tight. And this feels really good, the way that the cords are woven together with the beads. It has like a soft, silky feel to it. So this is something you can turn into a bracelet. Look at that, that would be really cute. Maybe a little headband, a necklace, whatever you like. This time I'm using Toho Amiette cord and 6/0 round Preciosa seed beads. You can see they're going to make a different look because they're bigger beads, and this is a stiffer cord than the crochet thread. But I just wanted to show you what I was talking about with tension. I'm using my 2 fingers here to keep the tension, and when it's time for a bead, I slide one up, I kind of lift my thread, slide it down into place between those 2 hooks, bring my thread back between that upper guide and between my fingers, and crank to the next hook until that one is attached. You can see it's attached there, and then we're going to slide another bead down into place. It's between the 2 hooks here. Between the 2 hooks, we're going to put it back into the upper guide and keep it held between our fingers. Turn the handle. We're in place to add another bead and keep going. So holding my threads like this with the thread coming through the upper guide in between my fingers, it helps keep the tension. Meanwhile, I've got the weight dangling down below, keeping tension from the bottom. So tension's really important when adding the beads, and I think with these bigger beads, our little strand is going to look so cool. So let's keep going. I really like the look with the 6/0 round seed beads and the Toho Amiette cord. Really nice knit together. The beads are a little bit bigger. The weave is a little bit tighter than with those smaller beads and that thinner thread. I think this would make an absolutely beautiful bracelet with some end caps and all of that. Just so pretty. Love that. Love the mix of the cord and the beads. And there you have it. That's how you use the I-Cord knitter. I'm going to turn this little strand into a cute bracelet. And we've got lots of pretty little ropes today that we made that we can turn into jewelry and crafts. So let me know if you have any questions. Make sure to like and leave a comment. And as always, make sure to subscribe to our channel so you're the first to know when videos like this are out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.